Good morning and welcome. It is so nice to have Karen Onen with me this morning. And she's going to talk transportation. That's what she does, by the way. She's from the East Central Regional Transportation Coordinating Council. And this morning, Karen, good morning, first of all.
Good morning. It's great to be back.
Nice to have you here. And we are so blessed. We have a couple interview guests this morning. Why don't you introduce them?
Right. Yes. I'm excited to have Tony Buttacavoli here with us from Family Pathways. And also we have Patrick here, and Tony's going to introduce Patrick to us all.
All right. Thank you, Karen. Thanks for having us in. Like Karen mentioned, I'm Tony Buttacavoli, Family Pathways Executive Director. As people might know, Family Pathways in the area has been around since 1978, so 45 years, a long time. And we kind of have three focus core mission areas at Family Pathways. One of those is work around domestic violence and sexual assault services. That may include things like helping people that have gone through a domestic violence scenario need advocacy. We also operate a shelter for domestic violence. Actually, the only shelter in East Central Minnesota called the Black Dog Heel Shelter. So that's kind of one of the baskets of programming that we provide. We also provide aging services. And really the goal there is to help seniors stay in their own home as long as possible, helping keeping them safe and healthy. And then our third basket, which brings up our other person joining us today, food access. And with food access, that's really talking about food shelves and other ways to make sure that people in our communities are receiving healthy, nutritional food. And so I brought with me today Patrick Felker. He's actually our fairly new food access director.
Hey, Patrick, I'll ask you, first of all, thanks for being in as well. What is your background?
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. My background, I'm from the cities. So I went to college down in Des Moines, Iowa, Drake, and then came back and bounced around a little bit kind of after college, but ended up at United Way. And when I was there, I kind of got a passion for nonprofit work. I was definitely someone who graduated college not fully knowing like, oh, here's my plan or anything, just kind of was going to figure it out. And I ended up at an organization down in the cities called Interfaith Outreach. I'll give them a shout out as well because they're wonderful. Was there for 8 years running their food shelf. And then when the time felt to move on, I was able, this opportunity at Family Pathways jumped up, which seemed fantastic. So I've been here about 4 months. Okay. And so far it's been wonderful. I think Kathy Willis, the last director, was here forever and had an amazing legacy. So it's awesome to step into the great work they're doing and help them continue growing their mission.
Right. It's just one aspect, Tony, of everything that goes on at Family Pathways. Real quick, if Karen doesn't mind, I just would like to find out a little more of your background.
Most of my time has been spent in local government the last 22 years in health and human services. And most recently, before I joined Family Pathways, I was at a local county here working in health and human services. So I've been on board just over 2 years. We're always looking for opportunities to evaluate the needs of the community and trying to respond to those the best we can.
Karen, why don't we get into the aspects of more of the transportation piece of what we're here for?
Yeah, we're really happy that we have this opportunity to talk with you guys about the transportation that you do. I brought a term into our conversation called reverse transit. And when you talk about reverse transit, rather than people going to you, you bring what they need to them. And so if you wouldn't mind discussing it a little bit, and I'd love for you to expound on that and share how people can learn more.
You know, one of the first times I think I met you, Karen, was actually working with traffic safety and transportation issues, and that's kind of how we got connected. At Family Pathways, we have a very large service area, all the way from Cloquet down to Forest Lake, over to Onamia, and we're actually involved in Wisconsin, in Polk County as well with some programs. And one thing we know from those programs I talked about earlier is transportation can be a barrier for people to get services and the things they need. Transportation touches all of our lives, whether we need help or not. But especially for times when people need help, we have to think, how can we get that to them if they're not able to come to us? And so there's a couple things we did specifically in food access to make sure that community members got the food they needed at Family Pathways. And I'm going to let Patrick talk about two of those opportunities, one called Doorstep, and the other program is our mobile food truck.
Yeah, so I'll open with our mobile food truck as our older program, long-standing, and that is we have a 24-foot box truck, I believe, We load it up with food and we bring it to sites, especially ones senior and low income housing, and especially looking at areas where we don't already have pre-established food shelves, try to get that food out to folks who need it, who, as Tony mentioned, can't physically make it to us. So I don't need to go through like every site we go to. You can definitely check out our website and see where that stops once a month. We're in like Harris, Taylor Falls, Hinckley, Stacy, at certain sites, either apartment buildings or Bram as well. I just told to point out Bram. We have a mobile stop at Park Manor and the Bram Covenant Church. So just finding those local partners, stopping with that food shelf. We do always ask folks to register in advance just so we know how many people are going to show up so we can have enough food for everyone who would arrive. So outside of there, you just show up. The truck will bring non-perishable food, so produce, frozen meats, shelf-stable items, household items, same quantity and quality that we have in our food shelves. That's important for us, too, is making sure that no matter how you engage with our food shelves, it's the same level of service. Everyone's getting their needs met.
St. Patrick, can I ask you really quick, where did they get the food from?
Part of it is purchase, so we do purchase food through food banks. So we get things for about... you can get about $9 worth of food for $1, which cheap plug for donations. If you always donate financially, that's where that money goes. And it does help us spread the money farther than folks. If you were able to buy it at the grocery store yourself, we can get things cheaper. But then also donations from the community. And that can be either just individual folks. Yesterday, I was by a food shelf and someone just showed up with a bag of food and dropped it off. They were just at the grocery store. They thought of us. They grabbed some stuff and they dropped it off. And that can also be big organizations as well, as few events coming up where there are food drives. There's churches, businesses, schools, Boy Scout groups, you name it, having big food drives for us. But also those food bank partners are also reliant on donations, so they don't necessarily have every single thing we need and families are looking for us. So I'll always plug for our food shelves and any food shelf, really. Shout out to the Mora Food Pantry and the Bram area food shelf as well, of just reaching out to a local food shelf and asking what they need. There's a lot of things we hear.
That's so true. Yes, Tony.
Hey, do you want to mention, just because I think it sounds really cool, one of the programs we have, Food Rescue, takes a lot of local businesses that step up to the plate.
So along with our purchasing things and donations in the community, we have pre-established relationships with some local stores. Cub Foods, Target, a lot of Dollar Generals we're picking up lately, Quick Trips. Pretty much if you see a grocery store near you, I'm sure they have a relationship with us or just with a local food bank. They're pretty well established. And that is we have staff that go to that store and take food that is either not like showable, so it's an apple with like one single little dent in it, or it's food that is not expired but kind of reaching to the point where they don't want to put it out in the stores, so that food comes to us. Healthy food has been a big need for us, and a lot of our produce is coming from these stores.
I have a couple of little things I want to mention. I will put on the eastcentraltransit.com website a lot of this information. And then if a person wants to, say, to donate, or if they want to get some of the items, where would they need to go to learn more?
So it's just familypathways.org. And from there, you should be able to navigate whether you want to provide services, food. We're always looking for volunteers as another aspect. More than half of our workforce is volunteerism. And so you can find information on that at the website. Also, if you're in need of services, you can still go to familypathways.org and be able to navigate how to get help. We're also on social media. We have a Facebook account where people can follow us, as well as Instagram. And most of the listeners probably know us about our thrift stores as well. Mm-hmm. And so we operate 10 thrift stores in the same service area that I mentioned earlier. And those thrift stores produce about 50% of our total revenue. And so besides getting a good deal on household goods and clothing, you're also supporting these programs that we're talking about today.
How about a phone number?
Best way to call us would be 651-674-8040. 651-674-8040. Patrick, do you want to talk a little bit more about Doorstep?
Yeah, I was going to say you segued nicely to it by mentioning need for volunteers. That segues nicely to our Doorstep program, which is the newer program. It came out during the pandemic when folks, especially early on, were reluctant to leave their homes. To your point, we needed to get the food to the folks and not expect them to come to us. And so this program came out then. So we have a staff who calls folks, takes their full order, and then we have volunteers drop it off for us straight to their doors. We pack it up at our food shelves, goes right to their door. the need for volunteers, I think we are still growing this program. We have a very great committed about 15 volunteers right now, which is wonderful, and we're able to kind of cover what we need. But this is a program that is growing. It's an investment area for us. The future is in delivery. So this is something we do want to grow, especially in Sandstone, North Branch, and our Forest Lake areas are where the big need for volunteers are. But it's across all of our service area as well for that. Currently, I think we have just over 70 families in the program. We don't have a wait list yet, and we'd like to avoid having a wait list. Make sure, when folks call us, we're able to deliver as soon as possible to them. And so, I just will keep plugging the need for volunteers in this specific area. And what the volunteerism there is, you come to one of our food shelf sites. They have a predetermined list of folks to drop off to. They'll hand you the food, and then folks will go drop it off on our behalf. There is a mileage reimbursement for this, which is just the standard
federal reimbursement.
Yep, which is 65.5 cents per mile right now. And then, to get involved with that, I think reach out to the same number Tony just mentioned, the 651-674-8040. You'll talk to our lead volunteer coordinator, Brooke, and then she can get you set up with a local site and kind of answer any real specific questions you'd have.
We still want to honor people's personal choice of food. So clients still do call in and tell us what they want. And then we kind of package that, and then we ask the volunteer then to deliver it.
Okay, and they use their own vehicle.
Yeah, right now we're set up, volunteers use their own vehicle, and we just supply the reimbursement rate if they want.
Tony, I know there's an upcoming event that Family Pathways will probably reap some benefits from. You want to tell us about it?
Yeah, there's a really cool opportunity, and maybe some folks in the area know about the Frankensteiner's Ball, which is a local car show that happens at the Iceni County Fairgrounds each year, and I believe it pulls in more than 500 vehicles, so it's a very large event. We're super excited. They've reached out and are once again hosting a food and fun drive for the next event, which is October 14th on Saturday. So if you're coming out to the Frankensteiner event, we'll be out there. We'll have our mobile food truck vehicle. We'll have some personal vehicles from our board members and myself to show off. And we'd be happy to collect any non-perishable food items. Or if you want to provide cash so that we can do that added benefit that was mentioned earlier, that would be awesome.
No, it sounds good. Well, if someone wants more information about Family Pathways, again, being a driver, helping out along the way with food, or if you just have some general questions, why don't we pass along website, phone number, and Karen can kind of wrap us up with her information too.
For all information regarding programs, volunteering, helping out, the easiest thing is to go to our website, familypathways.org. And if you're one of those people that want to speak on the phone, great. Call us at 651-674-8040.
And Karen?
Yes, thank you. And I want to thank Tony and Patrick for coming today. I also want to make sure that everybody can go to eastcentraltransit.com for all of this information. It will be posted. Like us, go on our Facebook page. So you'll get all of this information and past interviews there as well, and lots of good stuff. So
absolutely.
Thank you, Robin, for having us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks, everybody, for coming in. This has been brought to you in part by our friends at MnDOT.